Hey guys, Mark from Soul Adventure here. Wanted to start a new project today looking at bow setup. So this is a 2014 Elite Energy 35. You can see it's all decked out and ready to go. I've had a ton of fun setting up this bow. It's shooting great and I absolutely love it. But how do you get from brand new bow to perfectly tuned, fully set up, ready to go rig? Or what if you buy a used bow and you're looking to change some of the specs, change some of the accessories, maybe swap out something like strings or cables? So you might be surprised. You don't have to have a ton of know-how. There's some very basic steps that you can take to set up a bow. This is another 2014 Elite Energy 35. This is going to be my primary hunting bow this year. Setting it up specifically for elk, going back to Colorado again. As you can see, much different. This one, bare, out of the box. This one, fully set up, ready to go. So what I want to do with this project is take you from bare bow to fully set up, fully tuned, and ready to go. Okay, so as excited as I am to just get shooting this bow, the faster you get to that point, the more variables you introduce, the more things you could look over, and you're actually going to waste time. If you try and just slap a sight and a rest and a D-loop and put a peep in a brand new bow, you're going to find yourself tinkering and tinkering and tinkering. However, if you take some time and do each of those steps with a little forethought and planning, and a little bit of measurement and making sure everything's dialed in the first place, you really shorten that window in getting that bow tuned correctly. You'll actually be shooting much better, much faster if you take your time. So the very first step with bow setup for me isn't fun. I mean, there's nothing special about it. It's very simple, and it's just knowing the numbers. And so what do I mean by that? Well, this brand new bow, for example, or say you're dealing with a used bow, or say you just swap strings and cables on your bow and you're sort of starting the build from scratch. No matter what the scenario is, you always want to make sure that the bow is, in the initial tune, that the specs the bow should be in are true. So a few simple things: axle to axle length, brace height. Looking at those, draw length. Let's measure those first. Let's make sure they're right. A lot of guys skip over that step, and it ends up causing problems later. It won't manifest itself right now if things are a little bit out of whack. But if you take the time now to measure those things, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble. So let's start with axle to axle length. Okay, so axle to axle length is really simple. It is what it sounds like, yet there tends to be some confusion. Where exactly do you measure the length of the bow? Well, as the name implies, you measure from the axle. So a cam system with any bow, you're going to have a pin through the limbs that holds the cam in place. That pin or axle is where you want to measure. So you want to measure from the center of one axle down to the center of the other axle. That's your axle to axle length. A quick little tip, what I do is I actually take a tape measure and hook it on the top of the axle and then measure down and measure to the top of the other axle. So I'm not measuring center to center, but since I'm measuring top to top, the offset is the same. It's just easier to clip that tape measure on the top and it holds itself in place versus trying to hold the tape measure constantly in the center of the axles when there's nothing for the tape measure to hold on to. Okay, brace height. Another really simple measurement, but it can be critical. If your brace height's off, if it's out of spec, it's telling you that something's wrong. So measure the brace height. That is from the string to the inside of the grip at the deepest point of the pivot. So you don't want to measure out here, you want to measure from the deepest point of the pivot out to the string. You can use something special like a bow square, which can clip onto your string and do that measurement for you, or just take a tape measure, get it in the deepest part of the grip, measure back to the string, there's your brace height. Okay, the next key measurement is going to be draw length. And I don't mean your draw length, I mean the draw length of the bow. So this bow I happen to order, it's 75 pounds in draw weight, 30 inches in draw length. Anytime I'm dealing with a new bow or changing something on one of my existing bows, I want to make sure that my draw length is what it should be. So how do you check that? Well, first of all, I have a whole series of articles on this from a couple months ago. Please go back and check that. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a really helpful video on building something called a draw arrow. This is probably the easiest, quickest, most accurate, best way to measure the draw length. Again, not of you, but of the bow. So using my draw arrow, I can come in here and knock this guy, get to full draw, have somebody show me exactly how long this bow is drawing. So again, build a draw arrow. Okay, so what else should you measure? We've done axle to axle length, we've done brace height, and we've done the draw length of the bow. There's a few other things like tiller. That's another topic for another day. We'll get into that. There's some advanced tiller tuning that you can do. And then another key thing is just make sure that the draw weight is accurate. So, what is the peak weight of the bow during the draw cycle, and then what is your holding weight? That's important because you want to make sure that your peak weight is what it should be and that your holding weight is in range. So if your bow's supposed to be an 80% let off, make sure that your holding weight is 20% of your peak weight. So another thing is peak weight can vary. It depends manufacturer to manufacturer. For example, I've received a ton of 70-pound elites. They tend to peak over about 72 pounds when everything's fully tightened down. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, check the manual from your bow manufacturer. It's going to give you all the specifications we talked about today in terms of axle to axle length, brace height, etc. And it's also going to show you what's a safe variance. So example, for axle to axle length, it says it can be plus or minus 1/8 of an inch. That's important to know. It doesn't always fall right in spec, but you want it to be within the variance that the manufacturer gives you. So we talked about doing draw length with a draw arrow, and obviously draw weight you can do with a static bow scale. But something that will really help you, and this is going to be diving into an advanced topic right away, is building a draw board. This can measure draw length, draw weight, both peak weight and holding weight. This can also do some other measurements like cam timing and cam synchronization. So that's going to be next. I hope you stay tuned and enjoy this series.